Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jason Root, and welcome to the RootHealth Podcast, and where we are going to answer your questions today. So this is a question answering podcast episode today, where we'll answer questions from folks that I've either talked to that are clients or that have emailed these questions to me, or something of that nature. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get to it. Let me move this. So I'm just, for those of you who can't see, I had to take notes on this first question as I looked at it before we started the podcast. And so I kind of got to get my notes up here. All right. So the first question comes from Matt. And Matt emails me this question and he says, "What is longevity training and how does it differ from fitness training?" Well, I mean, longevity training. So first of all, it's a very big answer to this. I mean, I wrote a book on it called Unbound Health, but to describe where the ideas of that book came from and really what the very, very, far away, 50,000 foot view of that is, I could kind of get into right now. And so, the longevity blueprint, which, is the main thing, which is kind of the main overarching concept. That started out, I was having a conversation with a chiropractic colleague of mine. His name is Carmine Gangemi. And he owned a studio in Venice, right over by Gold's Gym in Venice, California. And I worked out of that gym. I worked out of that studio doing what I do now as a kinesiologist. And we had gotten talking about how fitness isn't really solving the problem of chronic pain and chronic health conditions, at least in the overall population, of America. We got 80% of people in America have, chronic pain and chronic health conditions. And that's when Carmine actually came up with a name for it. He called it chronic deconditioned syndrome. So CDS, or chronic deconditioned syndrome, which I use to this day as the definition of kind of what we're trying to fight here. We're trying to fight these chronic health conditions such as metabolic disease, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, and all these things have the same root cause. Chronic pain is the other half of that. And so all these things have the same root cause, and so we're looking at longevity and, well, what are the components of longevity and what are the problems of the lack of longevity? And so that's really what we're looking at. Then we started talking about blue zones and how, blue zones are those places on Earth where you get a lot of centenarians or people living to 100 years and older. And remember, not only are they living to 100 years and older, but they're being active and they're having active, like really fulfilling lives all the way through those 100 years, and older. And the thing is they don't really have gyms in those places. They don't have like an LA Fitness in Sardinia. Those things don't they don't need them. And so we started kind of talking about it and trying to figure out, well, what is going on? And how do we fix this problem by using that construct? And so I came up, when I wrote the book, I came up with 5 physiological health and performance. So physiological means health and performance as a function of your body. So 5 physiological outcomes. And then there's 8 different areas that a person needs to concentrate on. And they need to measure and keep track of those of metrics within those physiological areas and how they're performing or how they're putting a process or how they're engaging in activity with respect to those other 8 different areas of concentration. And they keep track of those outcomes and those processes and how they relate to each other. And if you keep track of those metrics consistently and continuously, then you should be able to end up creating that longevity blueprint for yourself. All right. One of those areas is training. We don't not have training in there, just because, Sardinia doesn't have a Gold's Gym. We recognize that training is a very important aspect of that, but it's only one of those 8 different areas. And so how does that differ from kind of the common fitness approach? Well, we say that our strategies are more restorative and functional training rather than gym training. It's more geared towards keeping us active in other parts of our lives and meeting the metrics connected with those 5 outcomes, as opposed to, kind of what you're doing on the bench press that week, or, what are the weights on the, on the leg press, or, those yoga classes are okay, but they're not necessarily geared towards those 5 outcomes, that sort of thing. And so it's much more comprehensive in dealing with those 8 areas of focus rather than just what our traditional gym training is, Pilates or yoga or, cardiovascular or whatever. All those things are great. Those are fantastic, but we need to have some sort of outcome, or performance metric combined with that. And so it is a little bit more comparable with strength and conditioning in the aspect that it's very results oriented. So where strength and conditioning is results oriented to a season or wins or points or, score, how you're performing on the field, we're relating it not to a sport that has a season or an athlete that is in that closed environment or that closed time frame, but much more in teaching towards the practice of developing the body for the span of a lifetime. And so that's hopefully I answer that question for you, Matt. I know it's really broad based, but that's just a big question. And so, hopefully that answers it adequately for you. If you want more information, just, check out the Unbound Health book or the Unbound Health course that I have related with that book in the RootHealth Institute. And that course is free. So, check that out. All right. And let's see. Going to our next question. So we get Dana. Dana says, Jason, what is kinesiology? Compare it to the rest of the fitness field. All right. Well, all right. So I'm in danger here of getting really textbookish. But I am going to read the kind of the textbook definition and then I'll explain it. All right. So the textbook definition of kinesiology, and I'm going to read this from, the British Columbia Association of Kinesiologists, because kinesiology really is kind of this bridging the gap field. It really exists in between all the other domains of the health sciences. Exists in between physical therapy and chiropractic and personal training and massage and strength and conditioning and athletic training and occupational therapy. It uses a bit of all of that and then engineers that for the individual. I mean, honestly, I've been fanatical about it since about the age of 14. And so the British Columbia Association of Kinesiologists, again, it's kind of a field that exists in Canada and Australia. And then I've picked it up and used it in, for our purposes here in America. But British Columbia Association of Kinesiologists. So the practice of kinesiology is the assessment of movement, performance, and function, and the rehabilitation, prevention, and management of disorders to maintain, rehabilitate, or enhance movement, performance, and function in the areas of sport, recreational, work, exercise, health management, and activities of daily living. So that's a very, very broad, um, broad definition. I like the definition: kinesiology is a science and precision application of exercise, nutrition, and environmental demands on the adaptation of human anatomy and physiology to enhance athletic performance, health, well-being, and activities of daily living. So what does that really mean? It means that we are, rather than teaching pre-constructed exercises within activities like bodybuilding, powerlifting, yoga, or Pilates, what we do is, as kinesiologists, we reverse engineer optimal movement for the client, patient, and individual needs and purposes, whether that be for relieving chronic pain or developing past a chronic health condition or performance on the field or in recreational sports or stuff like that. And it really takes, like I said, a reverse engineering of biomechanics, or the movement aspect of the body, and exercise physiology, which would be the metabolic aspects of the body or the health aspects. We always say there's, strength and conditioning. Strength is movement, conditioning is exercise physiology or health, health or performance, that sort of thing. And so it's a little bit different of a process than, just, taking different strength exercises or cardiovascular exercises and then teaching them as a way to enhance, sort of this fitness as an adjunct to beauty, or as an adjunct to sport. We really want to really address specific aspects of the body for each individual, rather than kind of that other way. And so hopefully, Dana, that answers your question. Thank you very much. And for you out there on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you're listening, thank you very much. And I hope this has been insightful for you and really helps you in the practice of your own, health and performance and, longevity. Thank you very much.